First contact, final warning. They came on an ordinary Tuesday. No dramatic skies darkening with massive ships. No armies materializing in capital cities. Just a signal, elegant and precise, that bypassed every encryption system on Earth as if they were made of paper. The message appeared simultaneously on every screen connected to a network: phones, computers, televisions, billboards in Times Square. A simple geometric pattern that shifted and changed, hypnotic in its complexity. Then it resolved into words in every language. We are the Concordat. We have been watching. We will arrive in 7 days. Dr. Alina Reyes was working late in her laboratory at CERN when the message appeared on her monitor. Unlike the billions of people who reacted with fear or wonder, Alina felt something else entirely: recognition. "I've seen this pattern before," she whispered, her fingers tracing the fading geometric shapes. For years, she'd been developing theories about quantum entanglement that her colleagues dismissed as speculative. But within those alien symbols, she saw confirmation of principles she'd only dared hypothesize. Within 24 hours, the United Nations Security Council had convened an emergency session. The world's military powers had gone to maximum alert. Religious leaders called for calm, and Dr. Alina Reyes was quietly summoned to Geneva. "We need to understand what we're dealing with," said Secretary General Okafor, her expression grave as she addressed the hastily assembled team of scientists, military strategists, and diplomats. "And we need options." Alina cleared her throat. "Based on the signal's properties, these beings possess technology centuries beyond our own. The way they penetrated our systems suggests a complete mastery of quantum mechanics that makes our knowledge look primitive." General Wei Zhao of China frowned. "You're saying we have no chance if they're hostile." "I'm saying we need to think differently," Alina replied. 3 days later, a second message arrived. This time, it was accompanied by images. Thousands of worlds across the galaxy, each one showing signs of civilization. Some thrived in splendor, with crystal cities and impossible structures. Others appeared barren, scared by what could only be weapons of unimaginable power. "We are the Concordat. We maintain order among all sentient species. Your world has been classified as Category 7, emergent intelligence with resource potential. You will prepare to offer appropriate tribute." The message continued with clinical precision, detailing Earth's resource value, its minerals, water, genetic diversity, and cultural artifacts. Humanity itself was classified as a developing sentience of moderate interest. In the United Nations chamber, delegates from around the world listened in stunned silence as the translation was read aloud. When it finished, the Russian ambassador slammed his fist on the table. "They speak to us as if we are children or pets," he growled. "They inventory our planet like shopkeepers." For once, historic enemies found themselves in passionate agreement. Within hours, a unified Earth Defense Council was formed, the fastest treaty in human history, signed by 197 nations. Alina watched the news with growing concern. Military preparations wouldn't save them. Conventional weapons would be useless against beings who could manipulate quantum fields with such precision. She needed to finish her work, and quickly. In her laboratory, now supported by unlimited funding and the brightest minds from around the world, Alina refined her theories into practical applications. What had begun as speculative research into quantum field manipulation was rapidly evolving into something else, a defense system unlike anything humanity had ever conceived. On the 6th day, a small craft entered Earth's atmosphere and landed precisely in the center of the UN Plaza in New York. From it emerged a single being, humanoid in basic shape but clearly alien, with iridescent skin that shifted colors with each movement and eyes that seemed to contain galaxies. It identified itself as Emissary Tallas of the Concordat High Council. Its voice was melodious, almost hypnotic, as it addressed the assembled representatives of Earth. "We are pleased that you have organized yourselves efficiently to meet us," it said, gesturing gracefully. "This will make the transition more orderly." Transition to what exactly? Asked Secretary General Okafor, standing tall despite the fear evident in her eyes. To your proper place in the galactic order. Tallis replied with what appeared to be genuine confusion at the question. You are young, but your world is valuable. The Concordat will ensure its resources are utilized optimally. And what of our people? Asked the American president. Your species will be managed humanely, Tallis said, as if bestowing a great kindness. Those with useful skills will be educated and employed appropriately. The remainder will be relocated as necessary to optimize resource extraction zones. Your cultures will be preserved in our archives. A murmur of outrage rippled through the assembly. The emissary seemed genuinely perplexed by the reaction. You misunderstand, it said. This is the natural order. All intelligent species eventually come under Concordat guidance. Those who resist, it paused, making a gesture that somehow conveyed both regret and indifference simultaneously. Those who resist are not remembered, except as cautionary data in our archives. The meeting continued for hours, with Earth's representatives trying to negotiate, to explain concepts like sovereignty and self-determination. Tallis listened with the patient condescension of an adult humoring a child's fantasy. Your independence is an illusion we have permitted while observing your development, it explained. The decision has been made. The Concordat fleet arrives tomorrow. Prepare your people for transition. When the emissary returned to its ship, the Earth Defense Council convened immediately. Military options were discussed and discarded. What could Earth's weapons do against a civilization that treated interstellar travel as routine? In the midst of growing despair, Elena Reyes requested permission to speak. We have one possibility, she said quietly. But you won't like it. Her plan was audacious, possibly suicidal. It required a global deception, absolute unity of purpose, and scientific principles that stretched the boundaries of theoretical physics. But it was the only chance. How long do you need? Asked Secretary General Okafor. 3 weeks, minimum, Elena replied. But they arrive tomorrow. General Zhao leaned forward. Then we must buy you time. The strategy was desperate but elegant in its simplicity. Apparent surrender. Earth would welcome the Concordat fleet with a show of submission. Representatives would negotiate the terms of humanity's servitude, dragging out discussions with questions, clarifications, and bureaucratic delays, all while Elena and her team worked feverishly to complete their project. As dawn broke on the 7th day, massive ships appeared in Earth's orbit, sleek, beautiful creations that seemed to bend light around them. Smaller craft descended to every major city, disgorging teams of Concordat officials who began methodically cataloging Earth's resources and population centers. Emissary Tallis established its headquarters in the repurposed United Nations building, where it received daily reports from Earth's transitional government. Secretly, all members of the resistance. The aliens were efficient, but, crucially, overconfident. They saw no need for overwhelming military presence. Humans were compliant, even eager to demonstrate their usefulness. Some humans, scientists, engineers, artists deemed of interest, were selected for advanced education and taken to orbital facilities. Among them were key members of Elena's team, carefully chosen to infiltrate Concordat systems. They think us primitive, and that is our advantage. Elena told the Defense Council via secure channel from her hidden laboratory deep beneath the Swiss Alps. They do not guard against what they do not believe possible. Day by day, piece by piece, Elena's defense system took shape. From Concordat ships, the infiltrated human scientists stole crucial data about alien technology. From Earth's resources, they built components disguised as tribute items. And from the quantum principles that Elena had glimpsed in that first alien transmission, they forged a weapon unlike any before. The Concordat was preparing Earth for its new purpose, a resource outpost for their vast empire. They demolished cities to make way for extraction facilities. They reclassified populations according to usefulness. They spoke of these atrocities as improvements, as the natural evolution of a primitive world into a productive member of galactic society. And all the while, humanity prepared its response, not with bombs or bullets, but with something far more fundamental: a manipulation of the very forces that held reality together. 3 weeks stretched to 4, then 5. The Concordat became impatient with delays, but remained confident in their absolute superiority. Why rush when victory was already achieved? Why worry about creatures so far beneath them? In her laboratory, Alina finally activated the prototype, a small sphere, no larger than a tennis ball, hovering in perfect silence. It emitted no radiation, no heat, no detectable energy of any kind. Yet within it, the fundamental forces of the universe were being subtly, precisely redirected. "It works," she whispered, her voice hoarse from exhaustion. On the secure channel, Secretary General Okafor asked the question they had all been dreading. "When do we strike?" "Tomorrow," Alina replied. "The fleet commander arrives to formally claim Earth. All their leadership will be gathered. And if this fails—" Alina looked at the quietly hovering sphere. "Then humanity ends on its feet, not on its knees." That night, as the resistance finalized their preparations, Emissary Tales recorded its final report before the arrival of High Commander Vextol. The human transition proceeds according to schedule. These creatures are surprisingly adaptable, though limited in understanding. They cling to primitive notions of independence, but are learning their place in the greater order. I recommend classification upgrade to Category 6, Serviceable Intelligence. This world will be fully integrated within the standard time frame. The emissary paused, then added, "A curious species. They make much noise about resistance, then surrender completely. Their silence now is their final acceptance." How wrong the emissary was. For in that silence, humanity was not surrendering. It was gathering its breath for a roar that would shake the stars themselves. Whispers among stars. The Concordat flagship arrived at dawn, a massive structure that eclipsed the sun over much of North America. It hovered silently, a masterpiece of engineering that seemed to defy physics itself. From its gleaming hull emerged a single shuttle, descending toward the reception area that had once been Central Park in New York. High Commander Vextol did not look significantly different from Emissary Tales, though its skin shimmered with deeper hues, and its eyes contained an even greater cosmic depth. What distinguished it was the unmistakable aura of absolute authority as it strode toward the assembled human representatives. "I am pleased to formally incorporate this world into the Concordat," it announced without preamble. "Your transition has proceeded efficiently. This speaks well of your species' potential utility." Secretary General Okafor bowed her head in the gesture of submission that the Concordat had taught them. "We are honored by your presence, High Commander. We have prepared a special tribute to mark this occasion." Vextol made a dismissive gesture, unnecessary, but accepted. At this signal, attendants brought forward an ornate box. Inside, nestled on velvet, was a perfect sphere of seemingly polished metal, Alina's device, disguised as an art object. "This represents our highest achievement in metallurgy," Okafor explained. "A perfect sphere of unified elements, symbolizing our world's commitment to the Concordat." The High Commander examined it with mild interest. Primitive craftsmanship, but promising. It will be catalogued appropriately. As Vextol returned the sphere to its case, Alina, hidden among the human delegation as a minor assistant, pressed a sequence on her concealed transmitter. Throughout the globe, in hidden bunkers and secret laboratories, identical spheres activated simultaneously. Nothing visible happened, no explosion, no pulse of energy, just a subtle shift in the fabric of reality itself, one that the humans had prepared for, but the Concordat had never imagined possible. The High Commander was continuing its formal acceptance speech when the first anomaly occurred. Its voice faltered, the melodious tones suddenly discordant. Across its iridescent skin, ripples of confusion spread in visible waves of color. "What?" it began, then stopped, looking around in genuine bewilderment. Something is interfering with standard quantum coherence. Emissary Tallis rushed forward. Impossible, High Commander. These primitives have no capability to. The emissary's words died as its own body began to experience the same disruption. Around them, all Concordat officials were showing signs of distress. Elena stepped forward, no longer hiding her role. What you're experiencing is a targeted desynchronization of quantum fields, she explained calmly. Your bodies and technology depend on precise quantum coherence that our primitive science has just disrupted. High Commander Vextel's eyes narrowed, galaxies swirling in sudden fury. You cannot possibly understand such principles. We understood enough from your own transmission patterns, Elena replied. Enough to know that your entire technological foundation has a fundamental vulnerability, one you never guarded against because you believed no lesser species could possibly manipulate quantum fields with such precision. Around the world, the hidden resistance emerged. In every city where Concordat officials had established control centers, humans activated localized versions of Elena's device. The effect was immediate. Alien technology, from their personal tools to their massive ships, began to malfunction as the quantum fields they relied upon were subtly altered. The Concordat forces, so confident in their superiority, found themselves suddenly vulnerable. Their weapons failed. Their communications collapsed. Their very bodies, evolved to exist in harmony with their technology, experienced disorientation and weakness. This is impossible, Vextel hissed, its voice losing its melodious quality. Your species was thoroughly assessed. This capability was not detected. Because we didn't have it until you showed us the way, Secretary General Okafor said, standing tall now, all pretense of submission gone. Your first transmission contained patterns that our best scientists recognized, patterns that revealed principles we had only theorized. You gave us the key to your own undoing. The resistance moved with coordinated precision. Across the globe, humans reclaimed control of their cities. The Concordat officials, weakened and cut off from their technology, offered little resistance. In orbit, the human scientists who had infiltrated the fleet activated similar devices, neutralizing the alien ships from within. Within hours, Earth's victory was nearly complete. But in New York, High Commander Vextel was not so easily defeated. Drawing on reserves of personal power, it activated an emergency protocol, a quantum beacon that cut through the disruption field, signaling the greater Concordat fleet beyond the solar system. You have achieved nothing but your own destruction, it announced, a terrible calm returning to its voice. The full might of the Concordat will descend upon this world. Nothing will remain but atoms and regret. Elena stepped closer, unafraid. We anticipated that reaction, High Commander. That's why we've prepared this. She nodded to a technician who activated a holographic display. It showed the Concordat flagship, now under human control. But more importantly, it showed what the humans had discovered aboard. The Concordat's central database, containing the locations and vulnerabilities of every world in their empire. We have already transmitted this information to several hundred hidden outposts throughout your territory, Elena explained, along with the specifications for our quantum disruption technology. Every subjugated species in the Concordat now has the means to free themselves. For the first time, genuine fear crossed the High Commander's features. You cannot comprehend what you have done. The Galactic Order was built on subjugation and arrogance, Okafor interrupted. And it ends today. In orbit, the captured Concordat ships were already being repurposed, their technology adapted by Elena's team to enhance the disruption field, creating a protective bubble around Earth that would neutralize any approaching Concordat vessels. The High Commander and the remaining Concordat officials were detained but treated humanely, a point that Secretary General Okafor insisted upon despite calls for retribution from those who had suffered under alien rule. We will not become what we fought against, she declared to the newly reformed United Nations. We will not treat sentient beings as mere resources. In the weeks that followed, reports began to arrive from across the galaxy, transmitted through the Concordat's own communication network, now repurposed by the Resistance. World after world was rising up, using the quantum disruption technology that Earth has shared freely. The vast Concordat empire was collapsing not through violence, but through a fundamental shift in power. 3 months after the day of liberation, Elena stood in her laboratory, watching as the original prototype sphere continued its silent work. She was no longer alone. Scientists from a dozen formerly subjugated species now worked alongside humans, sharing knowledge and building something new from the ruins of the Concordat. "We've received another transmission from the Lorathi system," her assistant reported. "They'd formed a provisional government and are requesting to join the Alliance." The Alliance, formerly known as the Galactic Cooperative of Free Worlds, had grown rapidly as more planets liberated themselves. Its founding principle was simple: no species would ever again claim inherent superiority over another. "Tell them they're welcome," Elena replied, "and send them the full technical package." That evening, a special session of the Alliance Council convened. Representatives from 17 species gathered, in person or via holographic projection, to discuss the future. Among them, somewhat ironically, was Talas, the former Concordat emissary who had been the first to dismiss humanity as primitive. "The last Concordat stronghold in the Cygnus sector has fallen," announced the Morican representative, a crystalline being whose thoughts manifested as patterns of light. "Their remaining fleet has surrendered." "And the High Commander?" asked Elena. "Requests asylum," replied Talas, now serving as liaison between the former Concordat officials and the Alliance. "Many of my people wish to join our new order. We have much to atone for." Secretary General Okafor, now serving as Earth's representative to the Alliance, nodded thoughtfully. "Asylum granted, under supervision. No one is beyond redemption." Later, as the council session ended, Talas approached Elena privately. Its once arrogant demeanor was gone, replaced by a humble curiosity. "There is something I must understand," it said. "Even after we cataloged your world, planned to dismantle your civilization, why did you not simply destroy us when you gained the power to do so?" Elena considered the question carefully. "Because the point was never to become like you. The point was to be free, and to ensure that freedom for others. My species ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, Talas said quietly. "We believe this was the natural order, the strong guiding the weak." "There is no such thing as the natural order," Elena replied. "There are only the stories we tell ourselves to justify our actions. Your story was about hierarchy and control. Ours is about cooperation and possibility." Talas was silent for a long moment, the colors beneath its skin shifting in complex patterns that Elena had learned indicated deep thought. "We never imagined," it began, then stopped. "In all our encounters with emerging species, none ever responded as yours did. We believe this confirmed our superiority. Instead, it revealed your blindness," Elena said, not unkindly. "You saw what you expected to see. Weakness where there was potential, submission where there was strategy." On the observation deck of the repurposed Concordat flagship, now the Alliance's headquarters in Earth orbit, they looked out at the stars. No longer distant and unreachable, but connected by a network of shared knowledge and purpose. "I have studied your history since my enlightenment," Talas said. "Your species has known division, hatred, war. Yet when faced with us, you united. How?" Elena smiled. "Because despite our differences, we recognize something worse than our old enemies: the death of possibility. Under Concordat rule, humanity would have had no future but the one you prescribed. No matter our disagreements, we all believed we should determine our own destiny. And now you have determined the galaxy's destiny as well," Talas observed. "No," Elena corrected gently. "We've merely created space for each species to determine its own path. What happens next is up to all of us." As night fell over Earth, millions looked up at the stars with new understanding. The Concordat had arrived expecting submission and found revolution instead. They had dismissed humanity as primitive and discovered too late the power of underestimation. They had sought to incorporate Earth into their empire and instead watched that empire transform into something entirely new. In the vast archive that had once cataloged subjugated worlds, Earth's entry had been updated, no longer listed as Category 7. Emergent intelligence with resource potential, it now bore a simple designation: birthplace of the Alliance. And in the silent spaces between stars, the quantum whispers of a new era spread, carrying not commands or threats, but an invitation to join a galaxy where no voice was silenced, where the arrogance of assumed superiority had given way to the strength found in diversity and cooperation. The Concordat had arrived with overwhelming force and absolute certainty. Humanity had responded not with matching violence, but with something far more powerful: the quiet insistence that freedom was not a privilege to be granted by the strong, but a right inherent to all thinking beings. In the end, it was not humanity's roar that changed the galaxy, but its whisper, passed from world to world, species to species, until it became a chorus too powerful to ignore.